Recording. Why, thank you very much. Welcome, Shrav, Super Tech staff member of the Growth Collective and associated companies. We're live on Facebook right now. We're waiting for Douglas. He's going to be a few minutes late today. And let me tell you something. He has every excuse in the world after last night's insane Deal Maker Live. Wow. It was truly epic. And if you missed it, well, we'll talk a little bit about today, but the Dealmaker Live event was last night. You can go to thedealmakerchallenge.com because why? You can get a replay. You really want a replay of this. The session was supposed to be 5 to 8. It was more like, and then the VIP was 8 to 9, and it was more like 5 to like 9:45. Solid content. You see, I'm still recuperating. I'm sure our entire staff is still recuperating, but it really was cool. It was a very immersive, free training for 3 hours, and I urge you to opt in for the upgrade VIP so that you can get a replay, because it was impossible to retain all that information. I know a lot of you took some great notes. Let me get our people in here. People are popping in right now. If you're just joining us, hey, Esther, glad you're here. So happy to see you last night as well. That was so cool. A lot of great content. Let's see. Spotlight. There we go. Okay. Welcome, Mo. Welcome, my cohort, Candace Amarin. Candace, I was just saying we're all recuperating at the same time. Even Esther over there, gotta be.
Yeah, my hair is still wet. Look at this.
Yeah. If you want to laugh, and I want to share this because I was talking to, well, let me be very transparent. I got a phone call today. I overslept. And who was the phone call? Larry, our new client.
Oh.
And since I have my phone connected to our company line, I saw Larry. I said, okay, I'll answer it to Larry. And he's like, did I just wake you up? I was like cracking up. I was like, no, definitely not. I'm going to be calling you back.
No. Bright-eyed and bushy-tailed.
I don't mind sharing that because we are all human, and we had amazing. Let me tell you, I've been with Douglas since 2015, and I learned a lot. And he was really on point. He just knows how to deliver information. He could easily be a professor, but who wants him as a professor? No one needs to be a professor in university right now. All right, let me get a little music going in the background. If I could find it, yes. And I have to share, so bear with us just a few minutes, guys. We thank you for being here. Candace, can you hear that?
I can hear it. Listen, you got your music going today. Oh.
It was going yesterday. I didn't realize once Douglas shared screen more than once, it disappeared. So let me check. Why don't you give me your analysis of what went down last night, your comprehensive analysis?
Well, what I would say is, as I put my other earring on, never mind, forget that earring. Anyway, what I would say is we learned a lot. We did a lot of deal analysis live, and it really pushed people to take the first, second, and third steps. You know, it got people out of their comfort zone and kind of pushed us over the edge of that analysis paralysis and that fear, right? Even me, I mean, obviously I'm part of the company. I've been doing this for quite a while now, right? And I was like, you know what? I'm going to do this too. And so I went into a Facebook group. I joined. I found a wholesaler who has 5 local deals. I messaged him and he answered me today, and we're going to connect. So even I got something out of it.
How cool is that?
Yeah.
Oh man, that is perfect. All right, give me a second. I got to send a message, Mr. Larry. Let's see, message Larry. Okay, Larry, I just sent you a link on your Slack so that you can join us.
I wear these earrings every single day that I actually put, you know, an outfit on and go somewhere. These are my earrings.
Throwing it out to
if I don't have them.
Awesome. Okay, so Let's see. So anyway, Douglas will be with us momentarily.
Joe, what
And
did you think about last night?
man, it really was intense. And I think that our members got so much out of it because they acted on it right away. I think a
Yeah,
lot of people are finally realizing,
yeah,
yes, it really is just about getting out of my comfort zone. That's a saying that we overhear it. We hear it way too many times, but that's what we get like desensitized to it. We don't know what it means anymore. It
yeah.
means exactly what you just did. It means what a few other members just did. They jumped
At
on
least
Facebook. They're
three.
waiting for answers.
At least three made huge progress last night that, reported great results.
We have
Esther, what about you?
we have Esther here. I would love to hear what you got out of it.
It was a good meeting. And when Doug said to, and I think I sent Candace an email, a Slack, um, I got scared. I'm gonna tell you the truth. I got scared when he said go get on Facebook. I did join some in groups. I did join some groups, but then I seen a lot of properties and I'm like, okay, what am I gonna do now? If I click on this, then
Then it's real.
what am I offering? That's what got me. It's like, what am I offering? I'm scared if they ask me a question and I don't know the answer.
Right.
So that's what kind of scared me, and I think it kind of scared a couple of people. But
That's a did. But the beauty of it is all this awareness that you're getting is like I just said, desensitizing you to that. Because honestly, what can anyone say? No. They can answer.
yeah,
Don't bother me. They can answer you in any which way.
And that's going to happen.
Not
Just
asking.
expect it.
but
Just
if you
expect
see
it.
property, like we seen a couple of property, I seen a couple of properties last night, and if I would have clicked on that and said I'm interested, where do
You
I
have
go
us.
from there? That's what I'm
Send me a
saying.
message,
If I
or you
see
just
a
set up a Zoom, and
And
Yeah.
yeah, where do I go from there? I'm scared now.
we're your
Yeah.
partners. You have some connections in high places.
Okay.
Great conversation.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm interested in investing in your area. My partners and I are interested of investing in your area. Can you tell me a little bit more about the property? Create a conversation. Be
Absolutely.
Esther. Be Esther.
Okay. Be
Okay.
Esther.
And you be
Okay.
scared of being yourself.
I got to jump off, but I just wanted to come and say hi to everybody and say how proud I was of the event
Okay.
last night and everybody that came. I think we did a bang up job, and it's going to be even better next time. So
Yeah.
I just want to say
Okay.
good morning. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Candace. We'll catch
Bye,
you.
Candace. Bye.
Bye.
And Candace has one of those unique names, by the way. She has an N in there. It's Can Dance.
Oh, can dance. Okay. Can dance. Like can dance.
Exactly. When she was first hired, I was relentless. I wouldn't let her go. I was like, yeah, you can dance or you can't. All right, let's see.
No, it was really good yesterday. I really enjoyed it. I did. I enjoyed it. I got scared at that moment and I froze. And I actually froze. And so when we came back to Doug and he asked how you guys did, I didn't say anything because I was scared. I'm like,
Douglas is just joining us right now. Esther is sharing how when we went out and broke out, she was a little afraid of communicating with people. But I know that's just a temporary hump or
okay,
bump on the road.
okay.
That's right. Yeah, that's normal. It's normal to be a little jittery, a little nervous, a little concerned. I get that. So
Yeah.
totally fine. But just break through that. Don't let it bother you. You know, just you're gonna fumble your words. You're gonna say some things that are not exactly right, but it's just a matter of pushing through that and getting used to having the words come out and get smoother every time.
Okay.
Or if you're
All
typing
right.
something, type in a certain way, figuring out what people react, how they react, and then it's good. Sometimes it's not so good. Other it just depends. So check it out. What's up, everybody? Douglas J. Beck here. Thank you, Joe, for holding it down. And we're still inside of Facebook, I guess, or about to be.
Yeah, no,
If
I
you could
just
keep
stopped it. So I'd like for you to start streaming from your profile, please.
I'm going to attempt to do that, Joe, but I just shot you a message. I guess you didn't see that one. It's okay. It might not work from my side. I think there's an issue in my account for some reason, streaming into Facebook. Let's give it a shot.
That's
Let's see
probably
here.
why Jenner couldn't get in.
Yeah, let's see here.
Okay.
Yeah. some reason Zoom is not liking me, and I couldn't do this yesterday for the simplified group either. I don't know why. So ironically, I can't stream us into the group, so you're gonna have to redo that.
Okay, sure thing. Let me get back in there. You got to make me host again, by the way.
Okay, just a moment.
Not
Okay.
yet. There it is. I see it. All right.
All right. We'll kind
Go
of
ahead,
gather, and then just let me know when it's. I'll get started once we're in there live, and I'll kind of reopen it.
Okay.
You can make me co-host too. That'd be good, or at least co-host, if not host. You probably had to stay host.
I don't know how you
Man,
have.
sorry.
I don't know how you still have a voice.
All right. Well, I drank lots of water. I had some lozenges, and did my
Yep.
best to take it easy and rest up last night. So, yeah, definitely. I'm going to jump into that in a second. So, I think we're in the Facebook group. So, we had a little technical glitch there. We were attempting to get it streaming from my particular account on Facebook so you guys could see that. But Joe's here helping us with that part. Joe, if you wouldn't mind just making me co-host so I can make sure if I need to do something and you step away, that'd be cool. And then also you can unpin. I don't know if that's showing up that way on the screen for everybody else on Facebook, but unless you want to be up there with me, you're welcome to be.
There you go.
So perfect. So listen, everybody, man, what a night we had last night. So many of you took us up on the opportunity to join us for a few hours. Actually ended up being about a 4.5 hour experience with those of you that were VIPs and those of you that have been part of the Growth Collective. And just an awesome experience, at least for me. I mean, I felt like we just had so many like aha moments, people sharing stories and just taking action and doing things that maybe they haven't done in a while or at all. And somebody in the group, I can't remember who it was. I think I might remember, but they said they had made 60 connections in a matter of the time that we were working together, and that they were going to be bombarded. And that person, I'm not sure if they're in the room right now, but they're like, I'm going to have a good amount of work to do tomorrow, meaning today, to get things going. And then just a lot of other feedback. So there's going to be more to come about that. But I want to actually mention that we had plans on sharing more content last night, which is kind of crazy. We didn't get to the whole rest of the conversation. This was not planned to be like today, the part two. But in talking with the team and also kind of thinking about where we could bring the value and for this group and for people to understand like the part that actually matters to get the deal closed, which is the capital side. We thought that today's conversation would be great to talk about capital and using OPM and other people's money and leveraging, private money and investors and capital partners that can come into deals with you. So I'm actually going to go into what says on my screen, and I'll keep it there. You'll see the bonus VIP content. So I'm going to share my screen. And this is literally from the deck that the team had prepared for the event. We just did not get into this far because we had such a good time with everything else we were doing. There was a lot of, like I said, a lot of momentum with different things. So let me share this. So I'm not going to go through the other slides. You can see we have 55 slides in this particular deck, a lot of content. And then on top of that, just a lot of discussion that we had last night. So if you guys missed last night's Dealmaker Live, I know we got folks in Zoom, but if you missed it on Facebook, just head over to the dealmakerchallenge.com. It's still available. The site's still there. You can register for free. There's an automatic process that will get you some information about what happened last night. And there's going to be a follow-up if you upgrade to VIP. Upgrading to VIP, you'll see on the page once you register, it's $47. That's like a $5,000 value though, because you're not just getting the access to the replay from last night, which you'd get in probably today or tomorrow. You're going to have a full 30-day trial of working together with us in the community, the Growth Collective community. And you're going to have a bunch of other stuff and bonuses that we could talk about that's actually mentioned on that page. So go to the first thing is step one, either now or after this presentation. If you haven't already done this, go to thedealmakerchallenge.com, which we just had the Dealmaker Live last night. Okay. With a 3-hour intensive, experience, and then another hour and a half of bonus where we were talking about VIP only conversation around basically Q&A, and also reviewed a couple deals with some of the folks in the room. Went through some questions and answered some different suggestions on renovation projects, all kinds of good stuff. All that replay is available to you for basically $47, but it's not just the replay. It's also the benefit of working together with us inside the community for the next 30 days as a benefit of signing up with that VIP offer. So Go ahead and do that now if you can, or today, right? As soon as you have a moment, get registered, the dealmakerchallenge.com, and then you'll get the VIP ticket. You'll get access to the full replay, which includes another 46 or so slides and about 4.5 hours of content, plus today's, which is the second, or not the second, but the, rest of the presentation, I guess, the last, quarter or whatever it is. But this is really some of the good stuff, I would say. This is going to be just for the VIPs, but we're actually doing it today in this room because we want to make sure we get the full picture of the 5-step process. The 5-step process, just to kind of level set everybody. You've heard me talk about this before, and I don't have it on the slide right now, but I'm not going to try to mess with it because it's a little funky sometimes. It's the 5 steps are identify, number 1. Number 2, analyze. Number 3, negotiate. Number 4, contract. And number 5, close. So what we're going to talk about tonight, or not tonight, look, I'm still in yesterday's mode, man. It's crazy. We're talking about now. It's afternoon, Doug. Hello. Okay. Man, it feels like I'm just in the same mode as I'm like 4.5 hours sitting here. So sitting here now with you guys, we're going to be talking about the capital side of closing the deal. I'm going to help you understand the terminology, the lingo, the jargon, right? The things that you need to understand when you talk with people that are private lenders or hard money lenders or investors that want to collaborate with you potentially and do deals together. If you want to tap into OPM, other people's money, you have to understand that you have to first get the first 4 steps right. You have to identify a great deal. You have to analyze the deal properly, negotiate the deal with the seller or the wholesaler and get it under contract. But that doesn't make you money just having a contract. What makes you money is securing capital either as a purchase to go fix and flip or to go buy this property as a rental or potentially to exit through a wholesale process, which I know I see some of the people in the room here are already doing some of these things in the Zoom room. We got Esther here. We got Larry. I see Marlene. I see Lori and Chris. I see Joe. Schwab is in the room, Mo and Noman and Ron as well. So let's jump right into it. I want to not, take any more time here. It's going to get us ready here. But again, the dealmakerchallenge.com has the registration link. If you're listening to this on Facebook and you didn't check that out, you didn't see that, you didn't hear about it yet, or whatever happened last night, you couldn't make it. We did have a couple people already this morning. In fact, just register and get the VIP upgrade. So they may be hearing this now as well. They're going to have that replay in no time. You'll have access to the community right away as well. So, okay. Key terms. All right. This is like when you get your notebook out and you have a pen and paper. All right. So you want to look at this. It says key terms, HML, hard money lender, PML, private money lender. There's a difference. In my world, there's a difference. Okay. Hard money is rooted in the fact that the hard part of it is the asset, the hard real estate.
Douglas, you may think you're sharing that slide, but we don't see it. I see the homepage. I see the homepage for Canva.
Oh, sorry, wrong screen. Thank you, guys. Appreciate that.
Go.
All right. Well, then you saw more. That's okay. And no big deal. If you guys were trying to squint to see what happened before that, you can kind of sort of see it, but you maybe get a preview. It wasn't on purpose. Can you see the right screen now?
Absolutely.
Excellent. Love it. Okay. Thanks for that, man. All right. So yeah, leveraging funding and OPM, other people's money. So very important, right? Like we're talking about leverage, but you have to be careful not to leverage too much. You have to be careful to properly analyze and see where the risk is in the deal. And we're not going to get into a lot of that tonight or today. Again, tonight, I'm thinking about last night still. It's crazy. When you spend so much time sitting in one place, I guess, and it's a certain environment, you start thinking it's still the same day. It's so crazy. Less than 24 hours ago. Nut. So yeah, if you're looking at the slide here, you see it says, OPM. We have to be confident in the deal, though, that we got to the point of getting a contract to where the deal makes sense, and that when we leverage, we're going to get the other party, the hard money lender, the private money lender, the investor, they're going to win with us, right? We don't want to set up a scenario where we're like just doing the deal for the sake of doing the deal. And so, hard money lenders, like I said, HML, you can just write down these and you kind of give some detail on these. Hard is because of the real estate, the actual asset, the property, the building, right? And so the structure. That's also based on the fact that lenders that typically do hard money, like kind of like the classic version of hard money lending was actually on multifamily, where the asset produces enough income to support the cost of the actual capital that's being borrowed. It's called the debt service. So the money that's being paid to the bank or paid to the fund every month has to be covered by the income that the property generates. So hard money lenders really typically look at what are called non-recourse type of loans, which is very difficult, unless you have a good net worth or you're like, you do really well financially, or you have, a lot of experience, or you have a really great asset, or a combination of all those. It's hard to get kind of hard money, just hard money with no signature needed for you and your personal credit. That's kind of the true aspect of what I believe to be hard money, right? So hard money, again, kind of this non-recourse, meaning that you don't have to physically sign your credit and your name to the loan. It's more or less the lender's lending because the asset produces income, and it's the hard asset can service the debt, meaning pay the mortgage every month. PML, on the other hand, private money lender, a private money lender sometimes can be a non-recourse, but usually there's a personal guarantee, a PG, because that private money lender is likely going to lend to an LLC or to an entity. And that's another part of this that we didn't talk about last night. Well, we might have talked a little bit about in the contract part, getting into contract with an LLC, but here there's not many, if any, that I know people that would want to lend personally, like from one person to another. That's like, hey, you two friends shake hands and say, I need some money, I need to borrow money, I'll pay you back. That's different than the company borrowing, and there's different regulations and things around this. So your private money lenders in this space are going to be lending to entities, and so that's why if you check the content from last night, if you join that VIP, like I said, you'll understand the legal structure and how it's important to set it up a certain way. When the private money lenders are lending, like I said, they're still lending to the LLC, but you're also signing for the loan personally, meaning that you're using your credit to help qualify for the loan. It's called, usually people will call this a low doc loan if you're going to like a fund. It's not a full doc. A full doc loan is like traditional mortgages, residential real estate type mortgages, where you have to submit all your tax returns, all your bank statements, everything like that. A private money lender is typically a low doc loan, which basically means you have to have an entity, a formation certificate for the entity, the articles of organization, the operating agreement, the EIN letter. You have to have also a credit score usually, right? There's also some programs that will allow you to have like a international number, like a TIN, or like also foreign national, but we don't really focus on that too much. By the way, I guess on this term, I should mention that I happen to be managing partner of KPRE Capital Group. And so I didn't share that story. I don't have that much time. I talked about this last night, but if you want to get more information about how we can help fund your deals up to like 90% of the cost right now, potentially more in the future, just on a loan basis, right, with a private money loan, then go to kprecapitalgroup.com. And on the top of the page, there's a button that says applied for a loan. If you go there, you're not going to submit your credit score and all that stuff like an application like that. It's more or less saying, hey, what kind of property are you looking at? Are you under contract? Are you looking to get funded? If you are, and you have a contract on a property, we can proceed to help you with the process. We don't pull credit until you sign a loan application on DocuSign or whatever system that the team's using for like electronic signature. So you could just get the information that way. You could also learn more about what we do and the partners and our experience. Have some great partners out in the West Coast and also somebody up in Northeast, and just really an awesome group that I'm working with there as a team. And man, we just got some amazing things happening there, but we want to help you out with your loans with respect to your first position loans, which are basically the purchase money, a little bit of the purchase cost of the purchase price of the property, and also the construction money, which again, the website has more details on that. We're going to cover some of that today. But definitely check out kprecapitalgroup.com if you're interested in private money lending for your deals. If you're doing fix and flips, you're looking to do purchasing rentals, or if you just want to know how it all works, you can go there. Okay. If you want to learn more also beyond just today's presentation, you can check out realdirectlending.com. That site was started actually prior to KPRE, my involvement with KPRE. And so that site has some more information about how it all works and the process. But I would say if you're trying to kind of just go directly to the source, if you would, then go to KPRE Capital Group. And when you go there, on the top, you'll see where it says apply, and you click on that. If you want to have like a sort of jump in priority in line, if you would, of like people submitting requests, put in my name, because I want the team to know that we're sending people from our network here in the real estate investing mastermind group on Facebook. We want to make sure they know that. So if there's a little drop down that says like who referred you or whatever, it's Douglas Beck. I'm a partner. It's not for any compensation. I already, that's already set up the way it needs to be. It's more or less to make sure you get the priority. If they know it came from me, being that I'm one of the partners in the fund, they'll prioritize that accordingly. All right. LTC, loan to cost. What does that mean? Well, loan to cost basically says if the cost of the project is $400,000, and let's say the loan to cost maximum in this case we'll say is 80%. It's a percentage, right? So the loan to cost percentage is the comparison of the actual loan size to the actual cost of the project. So on a $400,000 project, if it's 80% loan to cost, then it's a $320,000 maximum loan amount. Is kind of what that equates to. I can go into some more details depending on how much time we have, but just leave it at that for now. LTV stands for loan to value. We're right here on the fourth line. Loan to value says, typically there's the as is value and then there's an after repaired value. So you notice here it says loan to after repaired value. This is kind of loan to as is value. Okay. So what that basically says is that if I get this loan, what's the maximum LTV? If I'm buying a rental property, a lot of times it's like 80%. like I'd say I could go no higher than the purchase price, 80% of that purchase price with the loan I'm buying a rental property, if it's going to be a loan that we do. Obviously that varies if you go residential mortgages, but we're talking about commercial using OPM and in a way that's scalable. And so when you look at LT of ARV, this one, that maximum typically is between 70 to 75%. Now it gets a little confusing, so I don't want to lose anybody here, but if you guys want to do something simple on your piece of paper, you're writing down notes, you want to think of like a maximum as like a budget, if you would, for the loan. The maximum budget, quote unquote, for the loan is going to be starting off with the loan to value of the ARV. So loan to ARV value, not the loan to as is value. That's going to be, for most people, it's going to be about 70%. So you're going to take, let's say that ARV, let's say you calculate a property is going to be a $500,000 ARV. $500,000 is the finished value. Multiply that by 70%. That's going to give you 350. That's the maximum loan size. Although we're not going to go up to 350 unless it's necessary based on the loan to cost calculation. So that's your first number, is at 350. The next number is going to be calculate the loan to cost. Now, let's say that this project that's going to be worth $500,000 when it's all said and done, let's say the project is going to cost you $400,000. If it's going to cost you $400,000, let's say you're buying it for 350 and you're putting in $50,000 worth of work. That's $400,000 of a cost. So a $400,000 cost, the loan to cost, will say maximum to keep it easy. Let's say it's 80%, right? 80% of basically $400,000 cost is $320,000. So if you're writing this down on a piece of paper, you should have one thing that says 350 is my 70% of ARV number. That's my maximum loan to ARV. And they have a separate number that compares the cost, which in this case, we're saying hypothetically is 400,000, 350 of purchase, 50K of renovation. That 400,000, we take that number and we multiply it by the maximum loan to cost percentage, which in this case we're saying is 80%. So if I take 400,000 and I multiply it by 80%, that gives me 320. 320 is less than 350. That's pretty simple. We all can see that. If you guys have any questions inside of Zoom, you can put it in the chat. If you're on Facebook and you want to talk about this, shoot me a DM and I'll kind of do my best to explain it. But the fact is, or put a comment even if you want, we'll try to answer it in the meeting. The fact is that we're not going to naturally just go up to 350 arbitrarily. We're going to stay at 320 because that's what's needed. And that's the maximum based on the loan to cost. See, the budget, quote unquote, of the loan can go up to 350, but the lenders like us are not going to lend the full 350 unless it's needed. And it's not needed. And it's actually capping out at that 80% loan to cost in this example. But let's say we can go up to 85%. So if it's 85%, then it's like take another 5% of $400,000, which is another $20,000. That puts it up from 320 to 340. So if it's 340, we're still got that 10K of a difference. Now, what sometimes we could do, depending upon the scenario, depending upon your experience, your credit, your liquidity, all that kind of stuff, sometimes we can include an escrow, an interest escrow, or we can include the payment for the cost of the closing, the financial costs into the loan itself. But that's sometimes, not all the time. So that little bit of a cushion between your loan to cost maximum and your loan to ARV maximum, there is some stuff we could do with that sometimes, but it's not all the time. So I would not count on that. I would suggest to you all to compare your LT of ARV to your LTC. And again, if you need help with this, that's something we work on in our community. We do a hot seat. We're doing that actually in a little bit here. One of our members, actually Larry, I think, has one on deck, and probably some others that might be in the queue. So that's something that if you guys, again, if you want to hop into that, like you go to the dealmakerchallenge.com. That has the information for last night. You go and you click on, submit your information if you're not already done that, and then get the VIP upgrade. It's $47. You can come into our session right after this one, just like roll right into it, and you get access to the Zoom, you get access to the group. And if you have a deal you want to review and you want to have a question, now's the time. Like you can do that today. And then you get another 30 days of access to that group complimentary. So, and then there's more stuff that we did, which I'm not here to tell you about all that because it's on the page. You can go check it out. All right. So then DSCR. DSCR is debt service coverage ratio. This compares basically the income the property could generate on a rental property. Let's say it's generating $1,250, a number I like to use because $1,250 is kind of special. I'll tell you what I mean. $1,250 of net operating income, NOI, on a rental property. However we got there, it just doesn't matter right now. We're talking about the DSCR. So if it's $1,250, that it's generating, and let's say that the debt payment, the actual cost every month for the mortgage payment of that commercial loan is $1,000, you would take the $1,250 net operating income, you divide that by the 1,000 of the actual the cost of the actual loan, and that gives you a ratio or a percentage, depending how you look at it, of 1.25. 1.25. So if you take 1250 divided by 1,000, that's 1.25. Okay, write that down. 1250, and then put that line, divide by 1,000 equals 1.25. 1.25 typically is the minimum, excuse me, I was going to say maximum, but it's a minimum for cash out refinances. And in most cases, what's a cash out refinance? Well, that's not on the screen. We'll probably get to that. But if you have a rental property, and you want to figure out what your maximum looks like, it's usually no less than that 1.25 if you're doing a cash out refinance. If you're doing what's called a rate and term refinance or a purchase loan, it's typically no less than 1.0. What does that mean though? Okay, let me tell you what this means, and then we'll go into the next thing. 1.25 means that there has to be 25%. The 0.25 is 25% of free cash flow. The property has the cash flow after all expenses are paid, at least 25% compared to the debt service in order for the lender to lend in that way. If it's at 1.1, that means it's 0.1, which is 10%. The property has the cash flow at least 10% for the lender to make the loan that way. If it's 1.0, 1.0, there's zero cash flow. The lender says, as long as you can cover the debt service with the income the property is generating, and even if you make no money, which is a bad idea if you ask me, of cash flow on a monthly basis, then we'll still do the loan, but that's the lowest we're going to go. And there are some lenders that will go lower than that, but that's not a good idea. It's a bad idea if you ask me. But some people are like, well, we can't cash flow, but we can get that appreciation over the next few years. And that's kind of risky too. You're rolling the dice a little bit, and that's not really what I want to do with a rental property. So I'd rather see cash flow and not as much equity on a property, let the equity grow over time, but know that there's cash flow relatively soon. And that's how the lenders look at it too. So I want to learn from the lenders as well. If you have any questions, again, post it in the chat, put a comment. If you guys are getting this and it's valuable, do me a favor, put the word value wherever you're hearing this. If this is at least given some awareness, it's not to get to the deep understanding of like, how do you crunch numbers and get everything figured out, numbers, dollars and cents, percentages, a lot of numbers, it gets confusing, but I'm here to help you, right? So if it's some level of value, then just give me the comment value on Facebook or inside of the Zoom if you're able to do that, just to make sure this is on track to the funding discussion you're looking for today. Okay. The last item here is gap funds, the total cost of the project minus the debt provided. So the way we calculate the gap funds is like a gap is, what is the void? What is the difference between? So if I have a total project cost, let's say of the $400,000, and the lender's only giving me a loan for, what do we say, 340? 340, that's a pretty good deal, actually. That's 85%. That's why it's a good deal, because 85% is like a lot of the money you need. That's available. Heads up, that's available now. Like that's readily available to those of you that need the capital for projects. I'll say it one more time. We have up to basically 90%, but in most cases, 80 to 85% of the capital available right now. Like you could just submit on kprecapitalgroup.com, click on the apply loan, and then submit a request for a project you're looking to buy. And as long as you have the capacity to bring in the rest of the capital, which is the gap funds, doesn't need to be your own money. Does not need to be your own money. See right here, it says OPM, other people's money. What we could consider here is on the gap funds, how do I properly raise or source the capital for this particular project to maximize the benefit to me as the owner and operator of this property? If I'm going to do a fix and flip or do a rental, but still give value to my private investor or private lender who's providing the gap funds. See, one of the things I coach on in the Growth Collective is actually how to raise capital and create relationships with people that provide capital, not just private lenders that provide from like a fund, but actually individuals in your own network, how to speak with them, how to talk with them. We've actually had some of the best, literally the best in the industry, the experts of raising capital, come into our group and speak to our group multiple times. And we have that content available again inside the Growth Collective. So if you're not sure about that, again, go to thedealmakerchallenge.com, register, get the VIP $47. You'll get some of that content. You'll know what I mean. You'll see it. You'll understand it. And then you also get time with the team. You have like a one-on-one, I think you get with one of our staff as well, one of our coaching staff. But there's just, gap funds. I need to put money down to buy the property. That's the first thing. So if you're writing down your notes, gap funds. Number one, down payment is the first part of the gap. Number two, I need to have the money to carry the project. What does that mean? To pay for the things like the taxes, the utilities, the insurance, right? If I have to pay insurance besides when I close the property. And then I'm also going to have money to give to the contractor. It's a third thing, right? The contractor is going to be the first payment to the contractor, because the private money that we provide, the private money that's available to you with other funds, is going to be, you know, on an advanced basis, meaning like not advanced. It's going to be on a completion basis, not an advanced basis. An advanced basis means they're giving the money up front. Completion basis means that you have to do the work first and then get paid for it, or essentially, you know, get reimbursed for the money you gave to the contractor. So long story short is that you're going to have some money for the closing to purchase the property, down payment, some money to carry the property with the taxes and insurance, and then some money to basically give to the contractor. It's also a great idea to raise the money to service the debt, which basically means to pay the first position lender. In this case, if it was KPRE Capital Group, you have to have enough money brought in there. So let's say that same deal, right? If you had that note you wrote down where you're buying this property for $350, you're putting in $50,000, you're getting a $400,000 loan to cost on a $500,000 ARV. If that was your deal, we said we're going to get a loan from a fund like KPRE for $340. Of that $340, we have $50,000 of its construction. Okay, so $340 minus $50,000 of construction, that leaves us with $290. We're buying the property for $350. So that means we'd have $60,000, which is the same as, you know, taking the 400 minus the 340. But just to want to make it clear, it's not 340 for the purchase. It's only 290 for the purchase. Okay. Only, I mean, it's still, you have all the construction money sitting in escrow waiting to be given back to you once you start making some stuff happen. But you have $60,000 of a down payment. You probably have also some closing costs. We didn't talk about closing costs, maybe a few $1,000, $5 to 10 grand. Let's say 10 grand to play it safe. That's 70 grand total. You have the tax and insurance, which is probably nominal, but let's say it's a few $1,000, call it $5,000. That's 75 grand. You have the first payment to the contractor, which we said was a $50,000 budget. I would say call it 20% down as a low end, maybe up to a third is what I would give the max. So that 20% we'll say is about $10,000, and now you're at $85,000. And then we also have the debt service for the next, 6 months. Let's say on a loan that is 340, let's say it's easy math, 1% per month is $3,400 a month. Yes, that's kind of where it's at. Interest only loans are at about 1% a month right now with this kind of financing and funding, but it provides up to 85%. Like I said, 90% in some cases. So let's say $3,400 a month times 6 months is about a little over 20 grand. So if you want to have that like already ready to go, then you take your 85 that you need to close and carry the project plus the financing carry costs. You're talking about $105,000 that you need to have in a gap. So what does that mean? Well, that means you got to find somebody or your own money that can substantiate that $105,000 to close on the property, down payment, carry cost, mortgage payments, and paying the first payment to the contractor. Now, of that 105, you're going to have $10,000 coming back at the end of the project from the lender as long as everything stays on budget. Because you have $10,000 you're giving out, but you still have $50,000 in the construction escrow. And when you're at that last phase of that construction project, if everything stays on track and the budget stays at 50K or less, you do your last what's called draw. And you're like us, we would give you as a construction draw back, the first 10K would come back to you. So you really only have $95,000 of money out until you sell the property or until you refinance it, if you're going to refinance it. So I know it's a lot of numbers. I said it kind of fast. I'm not trying to confuse anybody. I just want to give you the clarity. If you maybe you listen back to this part once the replay is up here in the group, you kind of rewind it. Okay, we might clip this for the purpose of getting clarity again for you guys, but that's kind of the gist of how that all works. I have some more slides here. Let's see what we got. So common funding. And by the way, let me check the chat before I keep going. Okay. Value, but your head hurts. Yeah, exactly. It's a lot. Joe, any comments on Facebook? How are we doing on Facebook? Everybody doing all right out there?
Yeah, it's a little light, but I've got our links there, but no comments right now.
All right, got it. Cool. Let me check something real quick. I'm just pausing for my phone to kind of refresh something to see if this maybe helps us. Let's see. You guys could write down some notes about what's on the screen now if you'd like. As I'm doing this, that'd be good. Get that in your notes. Let's see. All right, I see the video there. We got a few people on here. I'm looking at my phone. Sometimes when I go on my phone, it actually, believe it or not, allows me to like, for whatever reason, Facebook likes when I do that. So I'm just gonna keep it open on my phone. So I see Dan's on here watching, I think. Says, what's up, Dan? Appreciate you being there. And yeah, I'm gonna go through this slide here in a second. So let me just make sure this is working properly. Do this. Cool. And that's that. Okay. Let me get this over here. 1 second. I got to get power to my phone. I don't know what's going on with my phone's battery, but it's not liking what it's dealing with for some reason. So no problem. All right. So check us out. Let me just do this real quick to see what we got. How much? Okay, we're gonna go a little faster. So I'm gonna kind of I did some of these things before I actually talked about. So common funding structures, 100% equity, which is basically cash, you and your money and or private money. I mean, that's kind of self-explanatory. Someone could just fund the whole deal without taking on debt. You could just have equity and there's no debt. 80 to 90% debt. And then that's kind of what I was talking about before, where you borrow most of the money and then you get equity. You get someone to bring in equity, whether that's you or somebody else that brings in private or hard money. There are people that will give quote unquote hard money for the equity part if it's a cash flow property and they can participate in that somehow. 100% debt, that's possible. One of my first few deals actually was funded by a gentleman 100% debt. It was a little bit expensive. It was probably at that time, I think it was like 16% and like 4 points or something like that. We are working on as a fund 100% debt option for a well-qualified borrower. So that will be coming at some point in the future. It's close, but it's not there yet. And so the closest thing to 100% debt would be borrowing the 80 to 90% debt and then actually having a debt private money debt lender, essentially. Like that sounds funny, but like the 10 to 20% have that structured as debt as well. So I want you guys to do me a favor. If you write this down, if you're paying, let's say 12% per year, we know that that's 1% per month. 1% a month on a 6-month project is 6%. 6% on, let's say, $340,000. Someone could do the math and let me know what that number is. It's around what? We just said it before. It's 20 grand, about 20 grand. We calculated that before, I guess. So that's 20K of debt service, okay, for the first position loan. Now, if let's say I get a private money lender to give me the other 15% or call it 20 to play it safe because I need that little cushion for the construction and stuff like that, the payment to the contractor, et cetera, 20% of the project cost, we'll say is 400,000 is 80 grand. So if I got that 80, let's just call it the 100K we said before, 105, 100, let's just keep it 100 for now for the argument's sake, $100,000. If I raise $100,000 of a private money lender to give me 100 grand for this particular project, the question is, how much of that 100K is part of the total borrowed money? Like what's 100K divided by the total amount of capital borrowed? Well, if I have 340 as my first loan and I have 100K as my second one, that's 440. I borrowed 100% of the money, right? That's the money I need to do this deal. Now, if it's 440, then that's fine. But then it's saying, well, $100,000 divided by the 440, it's a little less than 25%. Like I said, like 20% is kind of where that's at roughly, right? But the thing is, if it's 20%, just keep it simple. If that's what it ends up being, then it's 20% times what percent do you give to that lender? So in other words, if I give a private money lender, a friend, a family member, somebody I've done business with before, if I give them a deal, so to speak, I say, I'm going to allow you to participate as a private money lender for this particular deal, this particular way. And we put that together with some paperwork, which is not what we're talking about today. It's other next conversation, maybe. Then it's a question of saying, how much can I afford to pay to that private money lender, okay, that has given me the 100 grand for this particular deal? And I'll tell you, it's probably more than you realize, because what happens is I want you all to think about something. It's what's called in the industry your blended or total cost of capital. I want you to write down the blended cost of capital or total cost of capital. Well, what does that mean? Well, that means if I take my first position loan 1% a month, the question is, how much can I afford to give for that $100,000 that I'm putting towards my project to a private money lender? And I'll tell you, it could be as much as 50 to 100% more than what you're giving to the first position lender and not make the project fail. So it depends on how good of a project it is. Depends on, and then we don't have time to go through all the numbers, but there have been deals that people in our coaching group and even and in some cases our business, like I just told you, 16% and 4 points. I mean, that's 20% per year. But if the project makes 30% or 40% or 60% per annum because it's a fix and flip project, well, then let's say, for example, it's 20% for the year and my project makes 40%. on an annual basis because I figure out a way to do it in 6 months and I make 20% in 6 months. Well, that's 40% a year of active return on investment, not passive. I'm talking about active. Okay. I'm doing the work. I'm running the renovation. I'm selling the property. Well, basically, my private money becomes a 50-50 partner, but just not structured as equity. Let me say that a different way. If you're paying your private money, let's say 20%, total blended cost of 20% even, which is a high number. Let's say it was 20%, but your project can make 40% per year. It's equivocally the same as giving someone 50% of the profit. Because you gave 50% of your benefit, which is 40%, you gave away 20% of that. So I don't want you guys to get worried about like the rates. I mean, other than making sure you're staying in the guidelines of what's legal and allowable from the lender side, you have to make sure you know those. There's certain laws around what lenders can charge for certain kinds of structures of loans. But outside of that, and your deal itself, you have to be willing to consider other ways of structuring to get to the same end goal. Now, I will say, the difference, like, I don't know if I had this here, but equity and debt, equity takes on risk with you. Debt is required to be paid back the way it's structured because it's a loan payable back to them. So if you're not sure about the project, I would say lean on the direction of equity to have your partner ride the project with you and work together to make it successful. If you're more certain about the project, then go debt, and that's less expensive. You've heard me say that before. There's a lot of different options here: joint ventures, partnerships, syndication. All these things, honestly, are just too much to talk about for today. I'm not going to get into all that. If you guys have questions on that, you can hit me up with a DM, or again, the dealmakerchallenge.com, and then get logged into the VIP. We'll get you that information inside the community. I just talked about calculate the cost of capital when you're underwriting the deal. Equity is more expensive. I just literally gave this slide, I guess. I'm ahead of myself a little bit. Debt's backed by real estate and PG typically, and debt is short-term when construction is involved. Partnerships can be a great way to grow. So I did my first 5 or 6 fix and flips as a company. We did with partners. We did with construction partners and also private money partners. Then fast forward about 50 deals later almost. We've done most of our deals with other people's money. Actually, all of them, I think, initially started off with 100% OPM, every single fix and flip that I've ever done. A couple of rentals, I used some of my own money, but from the fix and flips, we've always raised 100% of the other people's money to start the project. Transparently, sometimes projects don't go successfully. You have challenges, you have delays, you have over budgets, all the kinds of the contractors don't show up. There's a whole list of things. So I've had to put my hand in my pocket many a time, unfortunately, on projects to figure out how to keep the project successful. That's just the nature of the business. So you have to have some kind of reserves or access to capital that you could use to leverage if you need to sustain a project till it gets completed. But basically a partnership, you want to think of like, what do I have? What do they have? It's a whole nother conversation. We're going to be probably doing a training and a class just on concepts about partnerships and joint ventures. That's a topic that a lot of people want to undervalue the benefit there. And last night, again, in the Dealmaker Live, we talked a lot about relationships and networking. And for those of you that were there last night, and those of you that check out the replay, I would say just planting a seed with you that think about the people you're connecting with and how could you potentially bring value to them so that you can create a partnership or create a joint venture with them and not have to do all the stuff yourself. Create a little team. Like we talked about that last night as well. Okay. Here's a kind of like 3 ways that you could potentially structure the deal as far as partnerships. Fund the deal 100%. You can do the gap funding model, the hybrid, where you take the debt and then they bring the gap money. Or you could do a wholesale, which is also a buyout. What I look at as like a buyout. Like, look, I found this deal, but you could step in my shoes and take over. And then I'm just going to expect you to pay me this much up front so that I don't do any work, but you take on the whole rest of the project. You make the majority of the profit. I'm just going to take a fee for bringing it all together. I have a contract at that point. I'm selling that contract or I'm closing on the property and then I sell them the property after I take title. I already kind of covered this. You guys could snapshot this on the screen if you'd like, or just write down some notes. It's a lot of text. You can also just check out the replay. I'm not going to read off all this, but you can kind of see some details about hard money and private money kind of differences. Some tips to get started. So it all starts with people. People are sometimes buyers who are also investors, who are also sometimes lenders, partners, etc. I learned this. I don't have time. I talked about an example last night. I initially started my business, as many of you know, in a wholesale focused business, which still has an element of wholesale, yes, but has now evolved to, operating and operations on fix and flips, buy and holds, and also now private lending with the fund. And basically the wholesale side, started off building my network. And so if you guys are wholesaling, anybody in the room is wholesaling, put the word wholesale somewhere where you hear this message. And if you're a wholesaler, like don't undervalue the power of your network of investors. If you built up a network, if you're on the disposition side, the second half of the wholesale, and you have a network of investors that are looking to buy deals, those same people also may be willing to partner with you or lend to you or lend with you, like all that kind of stuff. And so just don't, I would say, peg somebody down as just, oh, they're just a buyer, they're just an investor, they just want to buy deals. That's not necessarily the case. Ask the question, hey, would you consider joining me on a deal? We talked about this last night with one of our clients as well. Now, don't be afraid to partner with others. I just kind of gave examples of that. Partnering is actually less expensive than not doing the deal. I mean, if the deal is a good deal. So if you give away some of the deal, most of the deal, almost all of the deal, like if you just like literally wholesale it, then that's like better than not doing anything, right? So that goes back to the concept of implementation and taking action. Partnering is also less expensive than losing it all by yourself. So, you know, I have to say, I haven't lost it all on any projects, but we've had scenarios where we've made less money. And in some cases, we lost some money on a fix and flip. The fact is we learned something. We didn't really lose, we learned, and we made it better the next one. And that's really the wisdom there. And you hear people talk about this, but you have to literally live it and never make those mistakes twice, right? Don't make the same mistake twice on a fix and flip. You got to create a solution for whatever didn't go right. Now, at the same time, most of the times that we didn't do as well was when I took on, or some of my team took on too much responsibility and didn't have the focus on the thing they were really good at. So focus on what you're really good at and just do that. Don't focus on trying to do everything all at the same time. Without the team that we have, I wouldn't be able to do anything that I'm doing practically except sit here and talk with you guys about some experiences, really. I mean, it's been a growth journey for us as companies. Partnering gives you the opportunity to build a relationship, which obviously can be multiplied over time and actually produce almost residual type of income for you from that one relationship and the things you could do with that one relationship, that one person. Do not underestimate friends, family, and previous or current coworkers, because these are people that are close to you. We talk about this in the coaching group as well. By the way, our coaching group is called the Growth Collective. If you don't know, we're really talking about the deal maker stuff because it just happened last night. But again, go to the dealmakerchallenge.com. You'll get that free access and get a replay if you do the VIP for $47, and then you get access to the Growth Collective community for a whole month and more. But basically, you know, I talk about this, I think I talked about it last night a little bit, but you have to understand that the people in your sphere, right, the people you're connected to, friends, family, previous or current coworkers, or people that you're in networking groups with, or communities like the Growth Collective, could very well be your next partner, your next private lender, your next investor. And actually, we've had people last night come on that were interested in certain deals that were presented. And we had that conversation, and there's people that are sharing, you know, what's next and that kind of thing. And we have a deal right now we're working on up in New Jersey. I think we just got the contract last night. Ron's working on it. It's going to come out soon. You'll probably see an email either later today or tomorrow, depending upon the schedule of things. If you are actually buying in New Jersey, we have a deal in Ocean County. I believe it's Tom's River, right by the water, right on the water, actually, duplex out there. So now, where to find other people in REI, meetup.com. You guys probably know these things already, so I'm going to skip over that. And then how to wholesale. Okay, we're coming out of time here pretty fast. Again, if you're looking to wholesale, okay, if you decide not to fund the deal on your own or borrow private money or do whatever you want to do from the previous slides. Hey, it's like, I decided that I'm not going to take on this project. I could do an assignment. I could do a double close. I could sometimes do an LLC transfer. That's becoming less common because it's more complex. Example, JDL deal. So we had a deal in Union City, New Jersey. We had under contract for 510. It was 3 people that worked together on this deal. And we had it for 510. We closed on a property at 510. Within 3 weeks, we sold it for 650. We made $140,000 by taking title and reselling the property 3 weeks later. We had found a buyer to buy the property before we took title to the property. We just simply closed on it, owned it for 3 weeks, and then sold it for $140,000. That was our biggest deal ever to date that I've been a part of personally. There's other people in my network, like Ty, for example, talked, or his actually team talked last night. He did a deal that was as much as $360,000. $360,000 on one transaction, not using any marketing money to spend. He just went to go build relationships. And he's one of our strategic partners. So if you want access to what he's doing, again, the dealmakerchallenge.com, get the VIP. You'll hear from his team in the last part of the presentation conversation last night. We had Rodney come in and talk about that. Hillside was another deal. That was one of our first deals. That was a joint venture wholesale flip. So I connected with a guy who sent me an email. He sent me the email with a really ugly looking picture of this house that was like 120 grand he was offering it for. It looked like maybe it was a good deal, but I couldn't really tell. There was no pictures of just detail and like information about the property, information about the rehab, but there wasn't a lot of depth as far as what I could see. I said, maybe this is an opportunity for me to ask some questions. And so then with a little bit of paperwork and a little bit of conversation, I was able to get that property into a certain kind of contract, bring it to my network. This is my first deal that we ever closed back in 2014. We're talking about 6 months into the business. And we closed that deal on a few weeks later. We made about $10,000 collectively between the two of us. And I ended up walking away about $4,600, our company, with literally about 3 hours worth of work, because all we did was we got a contract in place to take that opportunity to market that deal legally with this guy. We got some more information. I put together a marketing email. I already had a list built because I already been networking for 6 months. I had like 500 people on my list. And if we took that information, put it out to our network, and then a couple of weeks later, we're closing on an assignment for 10 grand, and we split the 10 grand minus some attorney costs, and I walked away at $4,600 in a few weeks. So like if you've probably heard or seen something in this group about making 5K in like 5 days, like that's the kind of stuff where you could literally do that. 89 Carter Road. Well, I had to share a story about this with somebody down here. Coincidentally, I'm not going to go into all those details, but this person used to live in that area, and they're like down here now, and it has no correlation to this particular property, but just they know where it's at. They recognize it. They've driven by it, and they're down here now. It's funny. So that particular deal we found actually through an off-market strategy using letters. Basically, that was one of the only ones we ever actually got done closed with an outbound direct mail letter strategy. Multiple letters that had to be sent out actually. And this particular property ended up bringing our company a little over $40,000. It was at that time the largest deal we've ever done. And I ended up signing that contract to a gentleman who was flipping at the time, who actually became a managing partner of a fund that I worked at for a little while, and built a relationship with him. But that happened over the course of like 5 or 6 years. So here we go from those guys fixing and flipping, me wholesaling, to then they start a fund, about a few years ago. And then I jump into that fund, helping them grow the fund for about a year. And then now here we are, anyway. So it's just interesting how it all connects. And then a JV wholesale, there's a whole strategy around that as far as how to do that properly. Again, if you're interested in that, let me know. We talk about that in our coaching group as well. We talk about it in the community. So by all means, let's talk about that there. Okay, here's some steps to take. Number one, build a list of buyers, lenders, contractors, etc. If you don't know what to do or how to do it yet, just connect it to people. Okay, build their profiles out and communicate on all platforms, or just even go email first, but eventually get to social media, connect with people. Okay, market the deal once you have a contract. Of course, this is the kind of skipping past the contract. Once you have a deal, a contract, to other investors, i.e. the people that you just built the list with and cash buyers, and put that under contract with the investor. So in other words, once I have the contract with the wholesaler, I'm going to go ahead and actually bring that opportunity to my network, and I'm going to actually allow them to step into my shoes now as the contract purchaser. So I tell people, we don't always buy and sell real estate. We actually buy and sell contracts to real estate. That's kind of a secret. It's not really a secret, but it kind of is, I guess, in the wholesale space. Really, if you're in the middle of the wholesale, a lot of people will say that's like a JV or a co-wholesale. You're basically selling the contract that you have to buy the property. And actually, as a wholesaler, you have a contract you're selling, not the property you're selling. So a quick PSA for any wholesalers out there: you're not selling property, you're selling contracts. You're assigning contracts. It's not selling the property. So don't market the property for sale. Market the contract for sale. Market the deal for sale. That's very important. So close the deal, get your check at closing, repeat and systemize the skill. I don't have it ready right now, but if you look through my Facebook feed, I believe I posted just recently, we had a closing where we made about almost 16 grand on a deal up in New Jersey. I never walked in the house before. I'll go back to this. I never walked in the house before. Anything. I mean, I know the people that were involved. I never met them in person, but I know who they are. There's 2 guys up in New Jersey. One had a deal, one bought the deal. Okay. And so that was basically the same process you're looking at here in real time. We made 16 grand. We got a check in the mail kind of randomly because someone on our team just worked the deal without mentioning much about it. It was interesting. And then we talked about that. So at the end of the day, this stuff works, right? It takes work, but it works. Okay. So we have lots of examples. We're going to put on more like, case studies and examples of this, because I think it's important for you guys to see that, to know what's possible. So if you guys want a case study, if you want to see like examples of deals, that means something to you, let us know. Can you just put the word case study, or just, I can't really figure out how to shorthand that. Study, case, I don't know. Just put case study. It's fine. There's 2 words. Okay. Case study. If you want to see those examples, we're happy to show that, so you can see like the story of the deals. I can't do that today, but I could do that later. Okay. We can get that in the priority of the communication out to you guys. This is kind of just a reminder that there's 3 exit strategies out there that you got to consider. And this is like something you want to snapshot. I'm not going to go through every single one of these, but these are the ways that you can exit a deal. We kind of just talked through the contract flip, the wholesale. It's any deal where there's money to be made. Highest profit per hour. I just told you, we made $4,600 in 3 hours. It's over $1,000 an hour in my first deal ever. There's an infinite return if my time's not involved, basically. So there's an infinite return possible. It can be systematized. In fact, we have a process called TLC that does systematize this. We do this for our clients. We actually help you grow your business from the ground up and help you get started as a wholesaler, literally with the technology and process and the systems and the team, if you want us to hire a team, That's something you can put if you want to learn more about that. TLC. TLC stands for traffic, leads, and conversations. That's our system that we use in our business, pulled up with the 5-step system to make this stuff really all work together. And then it's minimal risk, simple. And then the cons are, the thing is, you're going to find people that are not really buying. They're saying they're buying, but they're not really buying. And then they waste a lot of time. And it is sometimes more difficult to negotiate with sellers, but you're going to find that, again, when you get more experience, you're going to find that to be a little bit easier. So with that being said, that's what we had for today. Let me go over here. Thank you guys and everyone for listening. If you have a question in Zoom, I'm going to check the chat in a little bit. We're going to go right into our community right after this. I believe I see a couple of folks are putting case study. That's awesome. Thank you, Marlene and Larry. And pretty much the goal here, though, is just to walk away and take action. So every single week, I want to say this now before we kind of wrap it up here. Like, what really, makes me think about things sometimes, like I come in here every week and I really pour my heart out. I hope you guys feel that and know that. And I care about your success. I know we may not know each other yet if you're just listening to me on a video somewhere, like in this Facebook group, wherever this might go. But the fact is, like, if you don't take action, it kind of like disappoints me, honestly. And I don't really even know who you are, but it just makes me feel like maybe you don't care, like, and maybe it doesn't matter as much. So I hope that's not the case. I hope that you're an action taker. Last night, we talked about this a lot because we actually went into action mode. So if you, again, want to see that and kind of participate in that, you can do the replay and actually do the things in the time that we did them, basically in the same cadence. And it's going to make a difference. I mean, we had a lot of great success stories last night alone in the 4.5 hours that we were together. So again, the dealmakerchallenge.com, it's easy. It's free to sign up to that. And then get that $47 upgrade. You'll get the VIP experience. You'll get the access to the replays. You'll get all the details about all that. And then you also get the community access for the next 30 days and plug into our private community so you can start connecting with people that are making deals happen already and that are looking to make more deals happen. So with that being said, I appreciate you all. God bless you all. Have a great rest of your day and a great rest of your week. I'm not going to see you next week for Thanksgiving. We might move around the schedule a little bit, but more to come about that. If you guys want something before Thanksgiving, if you need something, need some help with something, then hit me up on DM and I'll get you guys whatever I can do to help you out. Otherwise, I'll see you inside the 1 p.m. We're starting off here in just a couple minutes. All right. God bless. Have a great day, guys.
Okay, Douglas. So I'm basically going to stop the stream now and get it over to the community.
That works. Yep.
Welcome, Joseph. Joseph's back in town.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, buddy. Live on Facebook. Alrighty. Group. Let's see. Community. There we go.
Okay. I was trying to see if I had a mint on my desk, but I don't. That's okay. I'm doing all right, but I'm trying to conserve the voice. I'm going to talk a little bit lower. Don't judge me, guys. If I talk a little lower, why is he whispering? I'm not whispering. I'm just trying to save my voice a little bit. So, can you guys hear me okay? It's like echoing a little bit. Is that good now? Is it good? Okay, we're good. Awesome. Cool. So, congrats to anybody who's in here. I don't know if we have anybody that took us up on the opportunity. Want to make sure that the team, if you could just remind the folks that maybe just enrolled for VIP